Hey YouTube, this is Draak. I'm one of the world builders for Aeon, and also the lead sound designer for the game's custom D client. If you ignore the dragon and look down here, I've got my craft drawer popped open, and what you see before you is a big hunk of more or less raw beeswax I got from my father recently. It is pretty much unprocessed. It's still got bits of dead bees in it. It's been sitting for a little while. It's got this grayish film on it that's known as bloom. It's a type of fungus that will grow in raw beeswax. What I'm going to do today is pass along one of my less than common skills you're probably familiar with. I'm going to make some hand-dipped beeswax candles. So I've already broken off some chunks for this big hunk of beeswax. Put them in a glass jar, and I put them inside of this candle warmer that my wife and I got at a garage sale for a pretty low price. And this will melt down candles, or at least the scent, but for our purposes, and I've used it for casting candles into molds and such before, for our purposes it's going to melt this beeswax down to a nice liquid, and we're going to dip ourselves a candle using this piece of waxed hemp. So, a couple hours, this will be a nice liquid. Okay, let's have a look and see how things are doing. Nice and liquefied, rather hot to the touch. So go ahead and shut this off, and I'll start dipping. Okay, I tied a little knot in the hemp here to let us know how deep to dip it. You can also tie a weight on the bottom to help the wick stay straight, like put a nut through there and hang it. So we're going to start. Just one dip at a time with excess drip off. Now, you might be wondering why this guy that makes sounds and content for a game might be dipping a candle for y'all. Well, that's because Aeon has a medieval fantasy theme, and we actually have a couple of candle makers in the game, going by the ancient medieval occupational name of Chandler. If any of you know the old sitcom Friends, there was one of the guys in that had the last name Chandler, and they often called him that. Well, guess what his ancestors probably used to do? They probably were candle makers back in the day. It's a little hotter on the bottom, so the wax is not sticking to as well on the bottom there. This candle's going to be a little fatter at the top. That's fine. As it cools down, oh, we got a little hair or something there. Oh, well. As it cools down, the wax will accumulate more quickly. Now, contrary to what you may think is, beeswax is actually a very uncommon material to use for candle making back in pre-colonial times due to the difficulty of obtaining it, because you had to mess with bees. So most candles are actually usually made of like tallow or lard, mutton fat, and other kind of animal products. And they probably were kind of smelly after a while, though imagine all the lard ones burning, it might make your house smell like bacon. But because of their expense, beeswax candles are usually luxury items used by the wealthy, or they're employed in services of the church. This is very raw beeswax, has a lot of honey still in it, and it's just a wonderful aroma. I wish you guys could smell it. Just a sweet, sweet smell to it. I'm going to switch hands. My arm's getting a little tired. I think we're going ahead and we'll skip ahead to when I'm done. This is going to take quite a few minutes. Okay, the beeswax is cooling quite rapidly now. That's really what we need for this process. I can dip it more frequently. More wax stays behind. It's been all about 5 or 6 minutes, by the way. Beeswax doesn't take very long to cool down. As you can see, the volume of wax in there is lowered, so we're getting a taper to the candle. I think we're just about done. Normally a professional chandler would have a big trough and be doing dozens of candles at a time with them either tied to a stick or have the 2 wicks at a time with the string slung over it. Well, this is a one at a time one, just for demonstration purposes. There you have, ladies and gentlemen, hand-dipped beeswax candle. As it's getting a little uneven layering on there. That happens when the wax starts to cool. I've done this quite a few times before. It's just been a little while. Yeah. Hand-dipped beeswax candle, everybody. Now, if you guys like this sort of thing, I can make some more videos. I have some stuff lined up to do some dyeing with natural dyes, as well as making soap with lard and ashes. Don't forget to check out Aeon at aeon.com. Fun fantasy gaming in an old school text-based format.